Remember when he trained us in on the agitator on the ball washing machine?
Yeah.
You and I were 16. We don't know what. He's like, this thing doesn't vibrate enough to give a girl a thrill. I didn't know what he meant.
Is he not going to put the noise? Oh.
Right? That was his
How does he even know? He walk in on his mother?
He was a weird duck.
Yeah.
He was a weird
He was
duck.
definitely a few clubs shy of a full set. Welcome back to another episode of the Sweet Shots podcast. Lucas Johnson alongside Mark Johnson. Chuck Johnson ran away for a little bit of warm weather this last week. I think he found the perfect time to escape. So he's out of the office, but in his stead, legendary area golf professional Matt Cook. Thanks for coming in today. Head pro at Rose Creek, right?
Yes. Thank you for having me. I imagine most of your viewers, when they came on, right, went, God, what happened to Chuck? He got way uglier.
What in the world? Well, he was finally able to grow facial hair too, you know?
I love that Lucas introduced with the question mark, Rose Creek, right?
Sorry.
Are you still there?
Yeah.
It's been a long winter. Are you still?
I'm like, what have you been hearing?
Hey,
I
welcome.
just talked to my boss a short time ago.
Welcome, Matt.
Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here in the St. Andrew's room of all places. I was like, wow.
This is it right here. This is where the magic happens.
Not many people have been here, I understand.
We solve a lot of world problems in this area.
I bet you do.
And it's a very exclusive bunch that can get in here. So
yeah, guests here have gone on to make cuts at PGA Tour events,
win tour events,
make $1.4 million at the Players. So who knows what's in store for you coming up?
Well, I know one guy's going to get smarter, two guys are going to get dumber by me being on today. So.
No, we appreciate you coming on. It was kind of a last minute deal. You know, we were talking last night. You had a good group of guys from Rose Creek out last night doing a little 4-man scramble out here, which went really well from what I hear. It was a beautiful night for you guys.
Yes, you guys knocked it out of the park as far as for weather. I mean, it was terrific. And the guys really did have a fun time. It was so cool. I mean, because most of these guys I haven't seen since October. And to see everybody out once again with their golf clubs, and you can just kind of tell there's some pent up demand to get out and play some golf. And so hopefully getting them out last night, the guys were like, hey, we got to get over Sweet Shots a little bit more and work on some of these swings, because there was a few there was a few winter.
You got to knock the rust off a little bit.
Yes, exactly.
But you talk about, getting the itch. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to go. I mean, this snow's kicking my butt right now. It's like I need to get on some grass. I need to get on some like a golf course, play some golf.
It's going to be a little bit.
It's going to be a little bit. We can just get the weather to mellow out just even a little bit.
But it can turn. It can turn.
Yes.
In a hurry, it can turn. But last night, actually, when I went to leave, my truck said 0. I didn't realize it was a still night. So no wind. It made a big difference. I don't know what it was when we were playing. It had to have been around 10, maybe.
Yeah, I think when I left, which was before you, it was 12 degrees.
So when there's no wind, it's playable. Yeah. First floor here, we had the heaters going. Concrete's not heated, so their feet might have got a little cold. But if you're making birdies, that doesn't seem to bother you too much.
Yeah, I didn't see anybody out there that was complaining as far as the weather. They were having a good time, and
it's good. So I'm sitting between. I mean, you guys like grew up with each other, right? You guys, I mean, you pick them up for golf tournaments, Matt, and you work together too, right? At many places, or I know
we're old enough that we probably can't remember half the things we did. But yeah, I mean, this is awesome to have Matt on. We were hired the same day in the golf industry by Gar Anderson. Gar was the retired fire chief for the city of Moorhead and was managing the 9-hole course at that time, Village Green.
Correct.
What year is that? What year was that, Matt? Do you remember?
When Gar started?
Well, when you and I were hired.
Well, I think it was like 85.
Yeah, it would have been 85 because we turned 16.
Right. 85.
Right?
Yep. And your dad being a firefighter, and Gar, like you said, former fire chief as well. And so, there was kind of the association there. And then Gar lived right across the street from me in South Moorhead. And so he was our neighbor. And so that was kind of also as far as my in there. And so that was the best thing in the world. It's like kid getting a chance to work in a candy shop. It's like I get to work at the golf course, something I really enjoy doing. So
So you said so it was a 9-hole track, Village Green at that time, and that was the back nine. What is currently the back nine, right?
Correct.
Currently back nine. So my question then is, I don't know if you guys have a defense for this, but there are a handful of trees on the right side of hole number 10,
which is the old number 1.
Correct. That I hear were planted by a couple at that time probably high schoolers.
Do you remember doing that?
They're a little close to that fairway.
Did we plant trees?
We did.
I don't remember. That's been a while ago.
Yeah.
You know,
We planted trees for, I think, John Heimsness was the superintendent.
Okay.
And at the time, those trees we planted, I don't know, they were small, so it didn't seem like it was a big deal. But they're really close to the fairway.
They are.
They're like 2 paces off the fairway. And it almost turns it into a little dog leg.
Yeah, we were way ahead of the game, as far as trying to eliminate this distance issue. As far as, we
just
we
tightened it up.
narrowed it on up.
That's a fact. I don't think you and I should take any claim to where those trees are placed. We did plant them, but we didn't mark the location.
Correct.
Right?
Okay, so you didn't mark it, you planted them. All right, well that's fair.
But we did plant
as someone that does play Village Green quite often, those be a little nuisance.
That golf course was so different back when your dad and I started playing out there. Of course, when they first built that, for one, there was no houses out there except for your parents' house and a couple others that were probably even off the golf course. And, it was all probably either wheat fields or whatever the rotation might have been that particular year. And which I thought really made it cool looking,
Yes.
And I think, I'm not going to dog as far as the current layout. I just really enjoyed the whole quality of the original 9 holes at that time, which is now the back 9. And so when I've been on out there, it's like, it's just not quite the same.
It is. I mean, playing with Mark over the years and getting to kind of get glimpses as to where things were at, like hole 12 currently. Now there's houses there. They shortened that up to a drivable par 4 with a bunch of water, but it used to be the dogleg left, right? Where basically you're hitting over the houses.
Yeah. I think Dean Doden may have driven the green once with the south wind, but we'd hit it right over the field.
You would. Yeah.
You'd hit it right over the field.
And that seemed like that was a huge tee shot back then when you're playing persimmon-headed drivers and marshmallows for golf balls.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Which the change now, when it happened, it was like, that's a bummer. But 12 is actually, it's a good short hole.
I really like that hole. I mean, it's very risk reward. And I mean, most of the time, I'm not necessarily playing a ton of competition there now, so I'm hitting driver anyway. But come in competition-wise, it's a great risk reward. I mean, you get rewarded for a great drive getting up next to the green. If you pull one or push one even a little bit, now you're busy. Yeah, now you're busy. It's a great golf.
In 13, they've had to shorten because to make the green on 12, but 13 was a good par 4 back in the day, and now it's just a shorter version of what it was. But you and I, we ran around that course. We made a lot of laps.
For sure. That was a lot of fun.
You were ahead of your time, Matt. On 16, the par 5, which was 7 back in the day, we played from the shelter, storm shelter.
Right.
You said, let's play this course from as long as if we were needed to play it any longer than we were, it was. We played from back there. I don't know if we probably got home in 3 shots, but
I don't know. I was hitting probably 3-wood on my 3rd shot from the regular tees back then. So
no.
I had another 100 yards. It was a lot of fun. That's the cool thing about back then is just having that creativity, having some fun with it and going out there. And that's really what it's all about.
Yeah. So Matt and I picked the range. That was our first job. We got to pick the range. We hopped in a Ford tractor, if I remember correctly. And the goal was to not get the picker stuck in the fence, the chicken wire, because you had a problem if you got too close to that chicken wire.
Yeah, you're going to have issues.
And we did from time to time. Oh. So that was learning curve. And then we didn't know the rules of the road as far as, picking the range was right between number 1 and number 9. Mm-hmm. And so it was the slice for your common golfer. So there was a lot of regular golf balls that would end up in the range. And you and I, at the end of the night, what would we do, Matt? Do you remember what we did?
Oh, definitely. We'd end up having the ball draft. This is where you'd get all those golf balls that the guys had sliced off of 1 or number 9, and they'd be out there. And
we'd put them in order
Yep.
by quality, right?
Right.
So maybe if we were fortunate enough to find a Titleist Bellata,
Yep.
that was going to be potential number 1 draft pick.
Pick number 1 there.
All the way down to whatever that last ball was. So we probably did this for, I don't know, a month,
Right.
off and on,
Right.
doing the ball draft. And Gar, one day, he says in the shop, how come I'm not getting any golf balls? Because he would take those balls and then sell them in the golf shop. And you and I look at each other, and do we come clean? And I think we did. Oh, well, we've been keeping them.
Well, I think just better players were playing during that period of time. No one was
They
losing
stopped
any.
slicing it.
That might have been our first defense. But then eventually, I think we stopped doing the ball draft
Yeah.
for the most part.
I like that. That's very savvy of you guys. I mean, you pad the pockets a little bit with some. I mean, you had to be saving some money back then too.
That's probably when we had to start swimming the ponds.
Well, that's where I'm going to next. So Matt got this idea late at night. We're going to launch from our house.
We're not going to jail for this, are we?
I don't. And we're going to go in the. I don't even know if it's a creek. It's not a creek. I don't know if the ball.
The one on 16.
16.
Now? Yeah.
It really smelled bad.
Really bad.
And you had more courage than I did. You went down into that muck a lot deeper than I dared to.
Well, you remember, it's not that those areas are so deep. It's just they are so full of whatever, sludge or whatever. So, I mean, you step on in there and you're up to about maybe close to your knee, maybe at areas into that. You're kind of like, oh my gosh, am I going to get out of here?
This was all for golf balls.
Yeah.
LJ, times were tough.
Yeah.
Not just
When
for
it
golf
sounds
balls,
like
like club specials, crow flights.
Yeah, times were tough, and so Matt and I would sneak on in the spring too, and about this time of year, if we could find a patch of green grass, we'd go out there and hit balls, and we did this specifically for a trip with our dads to Missouri,
Right.
and we're out there practicing, and he brings his shag bag, and I bring my shag bag of balls out there, and I'm looking at the golf balls, he's just in his shag bag, and my comment was, geez, Matt, these balls in your shag bag are nicer than the balls that I play in competition.
That line gets thrown out there every once in a while.
He's hitting nice
He
Titleist
just wanted
Bellatas.
it. He wanted it more.
I don't know. I
wanted it.
I had another pond I didn't tell you about.
something like that. You were moonlighting at the Edgewood driving range, picking up other balls.
Also, remember that was within the years that we end up. I think we successfully may have played golf all 12 months.
We did. That's a fact.
Wow.
Once was probably on Cormorant or something like that. And actually, they had didn't we play on ice one time? I thought as one of the months.
Oh, I don't remember that. I mean, I remember playing Village Green where they had the snow fence up,
Right.
and if they covered the greens, I think they covered the greens. I mean, we'd hit our shot into there. We obviously wouldn't play, but it was open. There was winters where there was very little to no snow where we kind of played all the time. Now, your brother-in-law, Rick Downer's superintendent there.
Correct.
He does a fantastic, we're on the Village Green subject right now, and you're a Rose Creek guy, but just to kind of put, we played so often at Village Green, you start to, you really learn a golf course growing up. It seems like he's got those greens so fast that the slopes have changed on that original 9. Do you think that? Or
I feel like there's like a lot more settlement of areas out there because from back to front, especially when you look at the original 9 holes. Yeah. I mean, that's why I tell people a lot, I hear that so often. It's like, man, the greens are so fast at Village Green. And I don't get a chance to get over that often anymore, but I know that I'm like, well, yeah, there's a lot of slope also. I mean, you get above the hole there and it is going to be almost terrifying, a lot of it. And so, yeah, he's done a really good job of keeping that, I think, pace. And I think the greens have always been really good over there.
Yeah.
I think they're the fastest coming out of winter, just generally. I think that's some of the best coming out of winter in the area. And to your point, when you get above the hole, and Mark, to your point too, especially on that back 9, the original line, I mean, that's scary. 15 jumps to mind. I mean, you shudder when you hear it. But it's a great golf course, but not to pivot too sharply. So you get into the golf business right before turning 16, and then you kind of work your way through, Matt, did you always know you were going to be a PGA pro, or was it kind of just like, I had so much fun, here's what I'm going to do? Or
no, I was going to actually work in a jail.
That's right.
Mike Stoltman, who was a neighbor of
Yeah.
your
Oh, yeah.
parents at the time. I don't know how he had gotten me interested as far as in criminal justice. And so my major actually coming out of college was criminal justice. And I was actually looking at,
It's mine too.
was it really?
Yeah.
I was really looking at kind of maybe more in corrections as far as like probation.
Sure.
And so I did an internship over the Department of Corrections at the time. I'd worked at the West Central Detention Center, I think for a couple of years, maybe. I can't remember exactly. And that's where the juvenile probation was. And, after working there for a while, it just didn't look like there was a lot of positive movement ahead. I'm like, there's got to be something else that's going to inspire me a little more. And, Gar then had, I think, retired. And then Russ had taken on over.
Okay.
And so both of us were working for Russ at that time. And I think both of us probably just kind of thought, boy, this is a lot of fun. And I love being around golf and I like kind of everything about golf. And so I talked to Russ one time. This is after I think maybe about the time you'd left for probably Fargo.
Yep. I went to work at Fargo.
Yep. And Russ had kind of said, hey, well, would you like to pursue this? And I don't think they'd had at that point, they hadn't had a true assistant at Village Green. And so that kind of opened the door for me, at least to kind of get my foot in. And I had worked both Mark and I had been on the range, and then we kind of quickly moved into the golf shop. And then I took actually a couple of years and went and worked golf maintenance. And I think more so there, I just thought, well, maybe I can get more hours. I can be done really early in the day.
Right.
And that looked like it was me very advantageous because I can play golf, screw around, do whatever. And really I realized that, being out in the sun for 9 hours, the last thing you want to do is go be out in the sun longer. So it's like, that didn't work out very well. But I enjoyed doing that because I think I learned a lot of things and appreciate some of the things that our superintendents go through. Still don't always agree with them, but
So that's
appreciate it.
crazy. I was the same deal. I got to college and I kind of always wanted to be a golf pro. And then growing up, being around a golf pro, it was kind of, okay, well, if you like golf, what was your deal? If you like golf, don't get into the golf business.
No, if you like to play.
If you like to play golf, don't get into the golf business because there's just
Correct.
not a ton of opportunity. So then I took 1 year, I was in business administration, took my first econ class and said, that's not for me. And I went through my Netflix history and I had a lot of like murder mystery versus, and crime documentary, whatever they're called. And I was like, well, I'm going to give criminal justice a try, finish that out. And then this opportunity happened. That's why I'm here. So that's interesting. I did not know you were a criminal justice major. So
Yes.
that's really cool.
Yep.
So how about pivoting to Rose Creek? What year did you start at Rose Creek?
2005. So I
Wow.
when I left Village Green, I'd went and worked 3 years at Forest Hills Golf Course in Detroit Lakes.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And then end up going to Edgewood and worked under McCullough for a couple of years. And McCullough during that time had kind of tipped me off saying, listen, we look like we're going to go ahead and build a golf course in Southwest Fargo. And that was going to be Osgood Golf Course. And so he said, if that's something that, you may be looking to pursue, because I had applied at some other places. I'd had some good fortune and just turned down some jobs because it wasn't going to end up working for me as far as those locations. And so when this kind of came up, I'm like, wow, I get to kind of stay in the Fargo Moorhead area. It's a new development. This could be kind of cool. And so I kind of hung around and sure enough, it came on up. And so I was actually hired then in 2000, it was going to be 2005. So I started January 1st of 2005 as the first golf professional at Osgood Golf Course.
Wow.
So that's a little
didn't know
trivia there
that.
for anybody that's out there.
Did not know that.
Yeah. I also have the shortest tenure as golf professional at Osgood Golf Course because it was roughly, I think, some point in February that they received a call from Dave Altpeter. And Dave was the golf professional and oversee both Rose Creek and Prairiewood Golf Course. And he had elected to take a position down in Florida. And so he was not going to return. So now they're in a little bit of a jam because Osgood was not going to open until July of that year because they're still just finishing the grow in. And so they had some time, but Rose Creek, things are fast and coming.
Right.
And so they're like, boy, do we go out and open that position and try to find a golf professional in that short period of time? Usually at that window as far as through parks is probably a good 5 to 6 weeks deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, then, so I was quickly kind of appointed, I guess, basically the professional over at Rose Creek, and then also took over Prairiewood. And I think that's whatever. How many years is that? It's a lot. 18 years, something like that.
That's
Good
me.
for
And
you.
I love Rose Creek, and I think it's a fantastic golf course because you get a little bit of everything. Again, it reminds me, it's Fargo's version kind of a Village Green. You get some good drivable holes. There's some good challenge holes in there. You guys have done a fantastic job with the condition of the golf course. Has been fantastic in the last couple of years. And you yourself do wonders for the game of golf. We had Chris Geis on our last show, who with the Dakota Junior, and you're working very closely with them. You do some
Correct.
great stuff. Talk about a little bit your involvement in that. You do a great job around the area. Plans for the future, whatever it might be. How'd you get into growing the game?
It's obviously, as we've just talked, it's always been a passion of ours. And so to kind of give back and give those same opportunities, I think, to the kids today, and even better experiences. Cause like when, your dad and I started growing up and playing junior golf, there wasn't like a lot of junior golf tournaments. You could play in the junior all city. They had like maybe weekly tournaments at El Zagle. You remember going to any one of those?
I think I rode my bike to one.
Okay. and otherwise it was
Crookston.
like Crookston.
We road trip to
Our first
Crookston.
road trip. Yep.
Yeah.
Your sister Becky took us. That was awesome.
Yep. Foston. I
Yeah.
don't know if you went to Foston with me.
And so
Get beat by Chris Daniels by 20 shots.
right.
But whatever. Yeah.
And so there wasn't like a lot of competition opportunities. And not that was bad, because there was a lot of probably pros to that as well. But it's just been so great to see as far as just having more of those opportunities so that kids can get into the game and give those opportunities to play. And so the Soda Series through our section has been terrific. They do such an amazing job. The only problem is it seems like when we get out to the perimeter areas, we get a little bit less opportunities compared to if you were down in the metro area. And when you get out into the Dakotas, and it's even much, much less yet. I don't think the Soda Series really carries too deep into Western Dakotas. Western Dakotas to them is West
Hardly,
Fargo.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
and so what they're doing there as far as growing the Dakota Junior Golf Association and having some of those events has been just terrific. And so then we started this year. We didn't know exactly as far as what areas they were going to cover with Dakota Junior Golf Association. And we wanted to try to cover a broad stroke as far as from age 7 all the way up through 19. So we created our own tour this year, which is brand new, called the Discover Junior Golf Tour. And Greg and I and Chris Larson and Tom Portman were kind of the masterminds behind that. First of all, I said mastermind. That's not a really good term. Absent minds? No. And so what it is there's going to be 4 different levels there as well. You've got basically a 9U program, a 12U program, an 18U program, and a Players Tour opportunity. And the Players Tour, which I was particularly interested in at the time, is because for all of like our high school kids around here, I think if they ever aspire to play college golf, just getting some of that recognition. And so we want to try to run like a really professional event, give exposure through whether it's the streams of social media and some other things, but then also talking to organizations like Junior Golf Scoreboard to get these recognized and ranked. And so they will be, just as I think the Dakota Junior Golf Association will be. So now, for one, like the Soda Series that has that opportunity as well, it's an invite only. So it's based off performance. So to get on there is not the easiest thing to do. And then once you get on there, a lot of those events are once again down in the Twin Cities. So it's a lot of travel. So we're trying to get it a little bit more localized so these kids can kind of get into the program and eventually get up through some of those different series programs and getting into like the Players Tour to do that. And so there's going to be a lot of opportunities for kids to play high school or for playing junior golf competitively this year.
I think that's great. And we talk a lot about it on the show and just giving these kids exposure, whether it's to the game of golf. You talk about the 9U program, talk about the Dakota Junior Bay here, and the exposure, just intro to the game. But then on the top end of it, I mean, the level of talent that we have in this area, I mean, to get word out to coaches or inform these kids how to contact these coaches and start that. I mean, that's great. And I think it's going to be great for the community in the golf realm too. And Mark, you've been around it a long time, and I don't know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, more opportunities, the better. I'm sitting here thinking about, they host a how-to for parents and kids on if they do want to play some golf post high school. They run a little seminar down in the cities. I'm wondering with all these efforts on the tours and opportunities for these kids, and parents need to be the ones that oftentimes sign their kids up for these and drive them to these events, and then parlay that experience into maybe some college golf. Maybe there's room to we should join forces and do a seminar here in town.
I think that'd be really good. Like I said, there's some great opportunities here as far as playing college golf at NDSU for women, as far as MSUM, and for Concordia for boys and girls. Getting those college coaches on in town, letting kids kind of listen a little bit about what is it going to take? What do I need to do? Because as you have went through it already, it seems like it's a little difficult. I mean, to navigate those waters a little bit if you've never done it before. And so unless you're going to go on out there and kind of talk to some people that went through it, it's not the easiest process. And nowadays, I mean, if you aspire really to play like at a higher level, like Lucas did, I mean, you got to be on the ball fairly early in the game.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and with like this Discover
yeah.
Tour and the Dakota Junior Golf Association, these are going to be multi-day events, which is very, very important. So it doesn't seem like you can rely on like your high school experiences any longer, because it doesn't seem like coaches are putting a lot of emphasis on
Right.
that. It's kind of like, what are you doing at higher levels, playing multi-day events? And that's kind of a better as far as opportunity, as far as to gauge them, as far as, where you're going to be at as far as in talent. And so I think having a seminar like that to kind of walk people through a little bit and kind of explore what are the things that we need to be doing here.
That's fantastic. So I tell you what, we're going to take our first break here. We could go on forever, it seems like, with you, Matt. There's so much to touch on. It feels like we just scratched the surface. But we're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more golf with you, and then we're going to finish off looking forward into this next week's event. So stick around. We'll be right back.
This segment brought to you by the Sweet Shots Spring Golf League. Grab a friend, come on out, 6 weeks of competition. It's a best ball. Match play against 2 others that night. It is a great time. No better way to get yourself prepared for the spring golf season on a real golf course by coming out here and having a little friendly competition each Monday or Wednesday night. You can pick your night. Information's on our website, sweetshots.com. That's the Sweet Shots Spring Golf League.
No, excuse me. That's going to be a great time. I think everyone here is kind of getting the itch and want to get out and play and be able to see a full ball flight. Weather's going to mellow out a little bit. I think the itch is only going to get worse.
Yes.
So come on out, grab a buddy. It's a fantastic time. It's a couple hours, get away, play some golf, and it's a full ball flight. I mean, that's huge. You're not hitting into a screen. You get to enjoy the nice weather a little bit. So it's going to be a good time. But Matt, back to you. I mean, we were talking during the break, we could go forever. And we wanted to kind of highlight what you do at Rose Creek as far as, what's your summer look like? Is it, you expecting a pretty heavy summer, and, early course thoughts from you, maybe, and see where you're at there?
Yeah. You know what? I think there is still a huge interest as far as obviously in the game of golf. We have not seemed to taper off, and I'm expecting the summer to be a really busy summer once again. I've told a lot of people in the past, pre-COVID, we've been kind of a 26 to 27,000 round golf course. And I think year 20, not even knowing if we were going to be playing golf or not, or what was going to happen, we quickly surged, I think, to over like 32,000 rounds. And then the following year in 21, we did over 36,000 rounds. So now we're already over like 10,000, what would be our average typically. And last year, even with the shortened season with the late start, I think we were still somewhere in that 32 plus as far as in rounds, 32,000 plus rounds. So, we have a lot going on. We do several corporate events. So we typically have like one large corporate event per week. Then we also host a men's club on Thursdays and then a women's night on Tuesdays. And those both have continued to grow substantially these last few years, once again, as people are looking for, something to do outdoors. And so I expect those to be really big once again as well. We filter in a few tournaments as far as both our men's club activities. And then this year we're kind of excited because we're hosting the North Dakota Golf Association, their 4-ball event this year, which is always, I really enjoy that event. Just as you guys have that one coming up, people kind of like the team event aspect. And so I'm excited to have that. I think that's like the 3rd and 4th of June this year coming on.
Okay.
So we're excited to have them back in town once again. We're hosting the Maris once again, which is always kind of a fun event.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we're looking forward to kind of having a really busy summer out there once again.
That's awesome. We're actually going to partner with you a little bit on the Maris. I don't know
Correct.
if you've heard.
Yes, I'm so excited about that.
They've announced it yet or anything. Breaking news. But
Right now they did.
Well, have they announced the spring? No, never mind.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know enough of the details. I shouldn't say anything. So
we're going to kind of have a supplemental offsite event for maybe not your hardcore golfers, but somebody that wants to support the event and come on out here and play in conjunction with what's happening at your place. So more information on that to come. But I had a question about, this growth in numbers for play at Rose Creek. Is it those players, are you seeing, is it new golfers that are coming out, or is it people that had played before that kind of re-engaged and went, you know what, I was looking for something to do during COVID, and it clicked and stuck, and they stuck with it? Or is it a combination of new golfers and old existing customers?
I would say yes. I think
Yeah.
it really is. I think it's a combination. I think there is a lot of new growth, and maybe that's been inspired by other friends and maybe family members, whatever else, that have kind of brought them on out. Because we're definitely seeing some newer players, even getting some of those phone calls. I'm sure you have too, as far as newer players looking for instruction and some direction. And then there might even be some of those individuals that maybe used to play a little bit more, and then for whatever reason they found something else to do as far as their discretionary time and monies, and all of a sudden COVID hit, and maybe some of those things were not an opportunity, and they found golf again, and so now, hey, I'm getting back into it. And I think just I think even their work schedules and stuff for at least a year or two, and probably still maybe at a certain point, have allowed them maybe to have some more discretionary time. Maybe they're working more from home or whatever else. And so that's maybe allowed them to play a little bit more golf. So just for a lot of different reasons, I think it's just, and I don't know, I think just as you guys have done, and we've tried to do too, just trying to create those opportunities to make, both golf fun, have those opportunities to have some competition, social opportunities, networking, all those things that they're like, wow, this is really kind of a cool game to play, and I should try this on out. And so I think, those have all been successful and kind of keeping those numbers up there. And like I said, I'm really kind of feel excited that golf's in a really pretty good place still. And I'm hoping that we're not seeing that downturn anytime soon.
Right.
Yeah. I think, it's a great opportunity now we have here, not to kind of toot our own horn a lot, but we see a ton of new to golf people. I think, was it 70-80% of our people that come through these doors
At least
have never played golf before. And so as our goal is to be a good community partner, in that we're kind of that springboard to, hey, yeah, you're having a ton of fun here. Now take yourself over to Rose Creek or Osgood or Village Green or wherever, and get on a golf course, experience this in real life, and then, catch that bug that way too, and to your point, I think it's a great time for golf, just with the way that it's been growing. And I think it's never been more accessible to people. Right. I think it's a great avenue for these people.
And that's where I think, like, with you guys and this new adventure with Sweet Shots has been so fantastic, because even going into that, people even asked me right away, like, well, boy, how's that going to affect you guys? Like, it's going to really put a dent in your business. And I said, I don't know how it's going to affect it, but I actually look forward to it as it being a positive, because I think you're going to have those diehard golfers that are still come out here, like in the off season. They're going to want to at least practice their game, play hopefully in leagues and things like that they can continue to improve and kind of fill those competitive juices as far as that. Not, but it's also an entertainment venue. And so it's like those individuals that have kind of like bowling can be, those people have never played any golf before. You could, bring your spouse or bring your partner or friend or relative or whatever on out, never played golf before, expose them to it. And who knows, maybe it might just kind of click and like, doggone, this is a lot of fun. So maybe they're doing Sweet Shots golf all winter long, and maybe they want to get it outside and see what it's like out on the golf course. And so it's just a great opportunity, like I say, to end up bringing more people into the game of golf, hopefully, and enjoying it.
Yeah, we absolutely love it. And to your point, Matt, golf being in such a great place, and some, not to pivot too harshly, but some breaking news in the golf world as far as competitively. We've seen the USGA and the RNA, so the two governing rules bodies for golf, just basically suggested, they put out a new, I don't know if warning is the correct word, but to these manufacturers, they're going to look to roll back the golf balls, to take some distance off this golf ball. And I don't know what your guys' thought. We talked a little bit about it before the show, but essentially a way to kind of monitor distance. We talked about, we spent so long preaching the distance aspect, especially the juniors. Now it looks like they're looking to dial that back a little bit. But at the pro level, how does that, you guys being in the industry for 25, 26 years, what have you seen the game of golf do, and what do you think that impacts, I guess, as far as the proposed rule change?
Well, I mean, they keep, the players are getting stronger, better, and equipment improvements. The game continues to progress that way. And I think there's a challenge. You really have governing bodies in golf played at this elite level, and then the game. I mean, what they play is golf, but it's on such a different level that I think the USGA and those governing bodies need to be careful about making rules that negatively affect golf in general. Because all of us you're maybe an exception. Man, you and I would definitely benefit from having a golf ball that's not throttled back.
Right.
Just like probably 99% of your member or players at Rose Creek. So, and then I look at it, if you go down this road of, okay, now we really have rules for the common golfer, and then you have rules for tour. Boy, that's a slippery slope. That gets a little messy, in my opinion. Matt, I don't know what your thoughts are.
Are they raising baskets for 12 feet high in basketball
Right.
at the NBA level? I I'm sure there's more to it. And I haven't dove down that rabbit hole too hard, but I'm not a big proponent of it. I just think that people go out to these tour events. I want to go out and watch your Dustin Johnsons, your Brooks Koepka, these guys. I want to see them hitting it 370. I want to see what that's like. I want to see
the
that.
wow factor.
It is. It is, and I think that's what a lot of people like. And I don't mind seeing scores go low. I don't have a problem watching a tournament if it's 23, 24 under par. I don't mind watching birdies and eagles.
It's entertaining.
It is. Yep. And I don't need to see someone, gagging all over the foot joys just to think, oh, wow, that was a great tournament. On the contrary, I think it actually gets to be kind of a little bit boring.
Right.
And so I don't know. I think, and we kind of talked off air as far as Lucas, I think there's hopefully other things they could look at as far as with our current golf courses. How could we set these things up a little bit differently if they want to try to make it a little bit more challenging? Whether it's how we were, laying out that golf course as far as, the width as far as fairways, the length of roughs, the positioning of bunkers, other obstacles, things like that. I think to try to maybe some golf courses that they probably feel aren't as relevant or aren't as competitive any longer because of the length they're hitting it. But there's a lot of guys out there still. Tom Hoagie doesn't hit it like far on tour standards.
Right.
He hits it farther than me, but he's not far as on tour standards, and he's still pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk about Tom here in a little bit, but just to kind of cap things off, my deal is, to me, it's a blurred line as far as where does this rule begin, stop, and end, right? I mean, you look at, okay, obviously the PGA Tour has got to play these golf balls, right? And then you start to get into the elite amateur tournaments, like they call it. And, it's like, okay, what constitutes an elite amateur event? Is our college events elite amateur events? Is the U.S. Mid-Am an elite amateur event? Where does that begin? And even in like a U.S. Mid-Am, like Josh Persons, who we had on here, he can hit a golf ball, right? But there's probably some guys that go to U.S. Mid-Am that, they hit it really, really well, but not necessarily 300 yards. So now are they having to use this golf ball and lose, instead of 280, they're hitting at 260,
Right.
Where does that line begin? That's my biggest deal. And I guess just to recap, we kind of jumped right into it, but essentially what the USGA is doing, their testing regulations are changing. Right now, the rule in place is a golf ball for manufacturers, when they test them, cannot fly further than 317 yards. 317 yards, give or take 3 yards. And right now, their current testing conditions are at 120 mile an hour club head speed with launch conditions. They're essentially, all they're doing is just changing that. They're raising the club head speed from 120 to 127 or 125 and some launch conditions. And so these current golf balls now fly further than 317 yards. Now the rule, if accepted, is going off to be accepted by the tours and such, won't take place till 2026. So there is still some time. We're early on it, but I think we're all in agreement here where it takes away a little bit of that awe value, that entertainment value. And then it just raises more questions than answers as far as, okay, does this actually make our game better, more playable at the highest level? I'm in the camp where you can adjust. I'd rather adjust golf courses.
And did they kind of, and I didn't read all of it today, but what is the biggest movement behind this? Is it, are they worried about as far as the venues, as far as this golf course is no longer.
That's my takeaway from it. You get some of these historic golf courses where you get pros on them, and their lines change from what how did the architect intend this golf course to be played. I think there's some merit to that, but again, I think there's other changes you can make to not have equipment where guys, now it's penalizing to hit a driver up there instead of, you can make them play the golf hole in a way that doesn't.
I have a way to do that. And no, I've never seen a setup this way. and I don't know if Tom Dolby and I have talked about this, have the rough progressively longer from tee to green. They always go from fairway out, away from the fairway, right? So you have your fairway, you have your first cut, and then what if at 150, it's 3 inches, but as you move closer to the green, it's literally, it gets to be a foot at 330 yards, 320 yards. That rough is super deep.
That would be interesting.
But at 250, you might have 1.5 inch rough.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that equalize things up? So now you mow that thing from tee to green instead of fairway to trees. Have you ever heard of it?
We might have to get your dad on the competition committee of the USGA.
I like that.
Huh?
No, we've talked about that. I'm behind that. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it would make a guy make a decision, because right now Scotty Scheffler, and I mean, he just pulled driver out and just ripped it. And if you're on, great, you hit the fairway, but add a little more risk reward. And then the person that is going to lay back with a hybrid, if you can get it in the fairway, or even if you do spray it in the rough, it's not as
penalizing.
Yep. Nah, just an idea. I'm there has to be a limit on the ball somewhere, right? I mean, we can't tee up super balls that just go. But what's wrong with where we're at right now?
I think, you look at it, and we have invested so much money and time into finding ways that we can hit the current ball further. I mean, with all the technology now that we can measure, you guys obviously do a great job of down in your teaching area down there. You've got all this equipment that you can do all of these measurements to find out, what is going to be best for that individual to maximize that. And people have been, training then even their bodies through different programs they've run through to be able to maximize speed once again. So, I mean, a lot, obviously, as far as the technology of the golf ball has definitely made a huge difference. But I think just, the technology that's available now, I think has also been huge. And the training that we've been able to do to get us to that point's too been huge. I don't know. I also worry about the manufacturers who also invested all this time and money into getting a golf ball is performing to what it is. And now they've got to go back and redo that.
Well, they'd have to redo it. And it's not going to be a ball the general consumer is going to want to buy, because doesn't go as far.
Why would you penalize yourself, right? On your Thursday night men's league, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's something to watch. It's been talked about for a long time, and to actually have it here now, it's a little like, I'm not sure that's where we want to go. But Mark, you touched on it. Scotty Scheffler absolutely ran away with the players this week. It was a great tournament. Matt, did you watch a lot of that?
Yes. Yep. I was kind of glued to it during our big blizzard.
Yeah. Well, that helped, right? I was kind of thinking to myself, it's like a practice round for us consumers for the Masters, right? Mm-hmm. You get the bonus coverage, you get the features holes, you get an elevated field, and we happen to have a snowstorm. So it's like we're glued to the TV watching this stuff, and it's like prep for the Masters, because you watch a lot of golf. And it was fantastic golf. I think one of the biggest storylines, and we might be a little biased, but Tom Hoge, we kind of touched on it. He made the cut on the number. He had flights planned. He had everything going for him. They suspended play due to darkness, came back, and the cut line moved to 2 over par. And here's Tom sitting at 2 over par after a tough day. He bounced back on the second day. And then when all's said and done, here's a guy, he took home $1.4 million, tied for third.
Incredible.
Plus a course record. I mean, this guy is he can play with the best of them, and it's not up for debate. That guy is something special.
I was concerned, he just came off of the Palmer, and I think he was 6 over in his last 4 holes played.
Yes.
Misses the cut then by a shot. And then we come out opening day and he fires a 78.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh boy, this is where Tom's little dip comes into play. We're going to go on a 3 or 4 miscut deal. Yeah. And, because last year, had an amazing start and then kind of went a little slow for a while and then kind of picked it back up once again. And so that was absolutely crazy. What was it, tied for 133rd after Thursday night, I think?
Yeah,
or something like that?
Well, and then you talk about his first round, his finishing stretch, his finishing 9 holes, he had 1 par.
Right.
And like 3 doubles. So it's like he was not playing good golf that first round.
Right.
I mean, you can't hide it. Second round was better, obviously.
Yeah.
Fortunate to make the cut. And then I saw a deal where Golf Channel, their golf talk show, whatever it is in the morning, golf morning, whatever. They said biggest money moves at the Players because this was the biggest purse in PGA history, and they didn't focus on Tom's rise to greatness from the cut, which I think is $43,000, to tied for third to take home $1.4 million. Yeah. They didn't focus on that. Tom made bogey on his last hole, and the par putt cost him $250,000. So yes, that's a lot of money to miss on one putt. But guys, he made $1.4 million after booking flights home. I mean, focus on that, right? I mean, that's unbelievable.
And it's amazing. So 48 hours later, he goes from 78 to course record 62.
Yeah,
on that golf course. I think of that golf course. I was talking to my son Drew a little bit about this because Drew in 2021 volunteered down there during the tournament for a week, and so he was down on the grounds crew. And so he was talking about that. And you had mentioned, kind of it's like a master's practice run almost. And he was saying like a lot of the buzz down there was the conditions at TPC of Sawgrass. For some of the people that were on maintenance staff that had worked at both places, they say it rivals as far as condition wise. That's how good Sawgrass is. And he talks about how narrow some of those fairways are. I mean, he compares it to like number 3 at Rose Creek. And so I'm thinking like, wow, just like we talked about, like, what do we need to do to make these courses more difficult? That's pretty doggone difficult golf course. You go 78, 62. It's like, woo.
Well, and my deal is I'm almost glad we didn't have a DraftKings lineup for our show. And we took a break last week. And unfortunately, I think we might have got a little lazy. But I'm glad that tournament, to me, seems like so difficult to bet on. Because, like what you're saying, the conditions at this golf course, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, there's some big name. Rory missed the cut, and he was a favorite going into that. Best driver of the golf ball. He missed the cut.
I was worried about Tom's opportunity to make the cut when we had the weather move in Friday evening.
Mm-hmm.
And he had completed his round, and there's a lot of guys still on the golf course and a lot of guys that were underneath the one over mark or, the cut line. And so knowing that this golf course was going to change drastically, because I think it was like 73, gosh, I wrote it down. I think it was like 73.8. 73.8, I think, was Friday's average scoring average. And Saturday it dropped to 69.8, I think.
Record setting. I mean, you could tell. I mean, there was 17's the one that pops to mind because they had that back pin, and the golf course completely changed. Friday, you couldn't land that ball halfway on the green. Right. You just couldn't. You're going to hit it over the green. Saturday, you can throw a dart back there and in one hop stops, and these guys are hitting wedges. So that's a shot they love to have.
Well, you give them a soft golf course. They're that good.
They're going to tear it up.
They're just that good.
Yeah.
You see it at the Open each year. I mean, if Fargo CC softens up, all of a sudden it's just forget about it. But you get things firm and fast, now all bets are off.
Yeah.
Chipping even becomes tough.
Right.
So,
well, and that's where I love that golf course, and I think visually it's cool. Pete Dye killed it. I mean, that's such a beautiful golf course. It's subtle in many ways. My favorite are the pot bunkers that are no bigger than the three of us sitting together. It's like you can hardly get 2 feet in the bunker. It's like, why is that there? And then all of a sudden someone ends up in it. It's like, that's why that's there. It's reminiscent of old school golf where, if St. Andrews is playing downwind, you're like, what the heck's that bunker doing there? All of a sudden the wind flips on you and you're like, oh gosh, that bunker's in play. Yeah. Love it from a visual standpoint too.
But okay, Tom's the story. Fantastic story about Tom. I'm just blown away by Scheffler though. That's an unbelievable field. And what did he win by? 5?
5. Yeah.
Like that's, and you look at the run he's been on. I think if you look between he and Rahm, the last whatever starts they've both had, I mean, either one of them, if they were a team,
I think their worst finish is like T7.
Yeah. I mean, this is a hot run. And this started last year for him at Phoenix.
Yep.
There just doesn't seem to be any weaknesses in his game.
Well, and that's just it.
So good everywhere.
They talked a little bit about it on Golf Channel on how he has both shots. He can hit a fade, he can hit a draw. But to me, his ball doesn't move. It doesn't curve, right? And so he's able to aim conservatively but play aggressively, right? And you need that around courses like a TPC.
How about his move, Matt? Would you ever teach a young kid that move. It's very unorthodox.
Definitely so. I certainly, if I was an instructor, would not touch it. It is incredible as far as how he does strike it.
And I guess that's my question for you guys as longtime PGA pros, teaching professionals. If a kid comes in, I mean, he's clearly has talent, right? I imagine Scheffler had talent through college, but he's not hitting the ball well, and he comes to you. I mean, you said you wouldn't touch something like that with his footwork, but is it something you'd mention, or if a kid's striking it well, what do you gravitate towards? Is it something like that where you're like, ooh, I got to fix that, or is it, hey, let's look at something else?
Well, I think in the past, I know it's cool as far as an instructor. I think you continue to grow over your years. The more you see, and the more you find out cause and effect. And I've been guilty sometimes of just making a change because it just did not look right.
Right.
And finally, you go, it doesn't have to look right.
Right. Yeah. Correct.
What looks right is what's going on up here. What's going on in the sky, and so that's the biggest thing. And so I think I think obviously the people who've been in Scotty's camp of course understand that, and there's not going to be probably a whole lot of change you're going to see on that. And I don't think he seems to be like like Tiger Woods obviously had went through multiple swing changes, probably 3 or 4. I don't think you're going to see that in Scotty.
No, and I think, to that question, ultimately you want to work as an instructor. You want to find out what makes that person tick. When you're playing your best golf as a golfer, what are you doing right? And you reinforce that. To make changes, or because it doesn't look right. I mean, ball flight's the true king. So I think as an instructor, and Matt, you and I, obviously we started at the same time. You learn as an instructor as you go. I've learned to probably change less than I did early on with people, just to try and get them into this box. And there's certainly instructors out there, nationally known instructors, that are probably would take a student and get them to be that cookie cutter golf swing.
Correct.
Sure.
I mean, it doesn't have to be in golf. Golf can have its fingerprint on a golf swing. Fingerprints could look different, and it's based on your physical makeup. I mean, he's a tall, lanky guy. He's going to swing it different than me at 5'0" and make it work. But his arc, I mean, his hands are high.
Yeah.
That ball flight must just be towering.
Mm-hmm.
He generates speed. He's got speed to burn. I mean, forget about the footwork.
Right.
And then you get a hot putter, and it seems like right now when he putts, his ball just wants to fall in the hole.
There are a couple like lip ins that I think if anyone else hits that putt, that's a lip out for whatever reason. They show the slow-mo replay getting in the hole, and you go, that ball goes in the hole from there.
Well, it reminds me when Texan won everything. Jordan Spieth, when he was hot I thought the stat was from 20 feet, 25
he was nuts.
feet.
Everything was going in for him.
He made like a quarter of his 20 footers.
Yeah.
Which,
it's unheard of.
Tour percent from 8 feet's 50%.
Right. Well, tour average from 10 feet's 27%, I think.
And he had a stretch that year where he was winning where I thought he was over 20% on 20 footers. It's like, that doesn't happen. That's odd. So, but Scheffler, you watch good putters, and I always play with Tom Dolby. The guy, every time he hits a putt, it looks like it's going to go in the hole. That's where Scheffler's at right now.
Yeah.
Just wants to grab the hole.
He's certainly one to watch, and he makes the game fun to watch too. And there's talk, he did win by 5 or 5, but it was still entertaining golf to watch, right? I mean, sometimes you sit there and you go, golly, I wish this was closer. But with him, it seems like, okay, no, I can watch it because he's fun to watch.
Hatton put some pressure on him. He got in the clubhouse at 12 under. Hatton tied a good player, 29. Mr. Booth, he's been a guest on the show.
Sure, 29.
29 on the back 9 at the
Sawgrass.
Players.
Yeah.
In the wind, in competition.
On the final round.
He birdied his last 5, I think.
Yep.
I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
just
crazy.
That's just stupid good. And yeah, it was fun to watch. It's got to be, and he probably knew too. It's like, if it was anybody else, he's probably thinking I got a chance. But Scheffler's, even just the way he kind of goes about it, his temperament, and just seems like his whole mindset, just seems like he's kind of even keel and just handles that situation.
A regular guy. He's a regular guy. I got a text from my cousin, lives in Dallas. In the middle of the tournament, random fact, he texted, and he said, Scheffler and I share the same barber.
Nice.
Of all
Ran-
things, there
yeah,
you go. You got the
Random
same
fact:
barber.
Bob Knudsen texted me. I share the same barber, and the barber Ivan said Scotty didn't have furniture in his house until he won his first event.
Wow. Fun fact.
Fun fact. Very humble guy.
That's
Or
awesome.
practical.
That's a good fact right there.
Yeah.
All right, so let's wrap this up quick. I don't know, Matt, if you're into the DFS side of things, the golf betting side of things, but Mark, you have your team, Mark.
I do have my team for this
Okay.
next week, but I do want to highlight I had a
Okay.
team score 512 points last week. That would be the
Awful.
highest point total for sure
Yeah.
on this show. Conveniently, the last 2 weeks we haven't kept track, and I've crushed it the last 2 weeks.
You're hot. You're going into
I
this
am
week hot.
512.
That's a lot of points.
That's a lot of points. I rode Terrell Hatton. Anyways, I'm on a roll, and nobody knows it.
That's awesome, Mark.
Thanks, Matt.
You are killing it.
I'm killing it. Nobody knows it.
Nobody knows. All right. Well, since you're point man of the week here, we'll dive right in. So we're the Valspar Championship this week. You're playing at Innisbrook, the Copperhead course. So they've got the snake pit is what they call the finishing 3 holes. Difficult track. It's 7,400 yards or so, but 5 par 3s. So there's an emphasis on par 3 scoring, which doesn't happen very often. It's not necessarily a bomber's course because it's tight, tree lined. It does kind of remind me a little bit of the TPC, but there's a lot of undulation and elevation, which is unique for a Florida style golf course. And there's some Bermuda grass in there as well as some POA overseed. So you got a little bit of POA action jumping in as well. But definitely looking at, I'm trying to jump into Chuck's role here as far as the stats, but
Yes.
you're looking at strokes gained approach. So they got to be good on the irons. Proximity outside of 175 yards because it is a longer golf course. You can't really hit driver everywhere. And then you got strokes gained putting and, like I said, par 3 scoring. So a lot of more approach orientated focus for guys that are jumping into models and trying to figure things out that way. As far as strength of the field goes, it's kind of middle of the road. You're sandwiched between some elevated events. So I think your top guy is going to be Justin Thomas is in there this week. Jordan Spieth's in there. And Matt Fitzpatrick, I think, rounds out the top tier guys in that 10,000. So some interesting names to keep an eye on, but also, kind of a middle field here that's reminiscent of the Honda. I think we could see some interesting storylines take over for this week. So with that, Mark, jump right in. Who do you got?
I get to go first.
Yeah. If you're point man of the week. So
Well, here's when I did my team this week, and I am on a roll. I'm going with the hot hand. I looked at course results last year, and it's like, this event seems to be a little unpredictable from year to year. So I went with hot hand, and the first person I drafted was Suh. Is it Johnny?
I thought it was,
Rookie, played for USC, I think.
Mhm.
Kid's on fire. He is on fire. He's made 11 of 15 cuts, 2 top 10s, but he's really impactful rookie. I got Spieth. I think he is trending.
I like that pick, actually. He's not on my team, but I do like it. I think he's finding it again.
Yeah, he is trending for sure. Ben on. That guy.
I like it.
He's
do
been
like
on.
that one too.
He's been on. He's coming. Good value at 7,900.
Yeah.
Joel Damon.
You're a Joel Damon guy now.
Yeah, I like him after watching the full swing. Have you seen that?
I
Matt?
have.
Yeah, it's like somebody's got to be the 70th ranked player in the world. I dig the guy 7,500.
Yeah, good value.
Good
there.
value.
Yep.
I rounded my team out with Lashley.
I
Nick,
like it. Yep.
and
Nate.
Gordon.
Nate
Nate Lashley.
Yep.
And is it Will Gordon?
Yep.
Yeah. Value picks at 7,600. So this is a cut making machine. I had teams last week. All 5 of my guys have been making cuts the last 2 weeks, and we've talked about it. That's the key.
That's key.
You got to find teams that are going to make the cut for you. Otherwise, Sunday ends up you just back up and you can't make any money.
Yep.
We're not betting large amounts of money, Matt. Dimes and quarters. But for those that are out there, we do this, and there are a lot of analytics. Chuck's more of an analytical guy. I'm kind of hot hand course trend guy, and you'll play both sides of it. But it sure, by playing this, it sure does add a lot of fun to watching
Gives you something
the
to
tour on the
to
weekend.
root for, and that's kind of why I enjoy it a lot. So my team, I like where you're going there. I think Spieth's a great pick. I might throw another team together with him on there because I am high on him. I'm not sold on Justin Thomas. Tough week last week. I just think he's streaky, and I hope he plays well, but I'm not bought in. With that said, I went with Matt Fitzpatrick. I think he's a good dude. Not necessarily a bomber, but you don't need to be a bomber. I think he catches a hot putter. He's going to be good this week. Then I went with Wyndham Clark. He's a good iron player. He's a very strong iron player, which I'm leaning heavily. A lot of these guys are good iron players. They fit kind of this model that I was looking at as far as par 3 scoring and iron players.
And Tom's not playing this week?
Tom is not. He's off this week. So Wyndham Clark, and then I went with, I think it's Ben Griffin. Ben Griffin's, I think he's hot. He's played really well recently. He had a great players, and he's a great iron player. I think that's why he played well at TPC. So Ben Griffin in there. Aaron Rye, who had he had one of the aces on the 17th hole at TPC. I think he's going to have a great week.
I've had him on some teams.
Yeah.
Good golf swing.
Great golf swing. He's a ball striker. So I've got him on my team. Then I went with Pearson Cootie, who PGA Tour, I don't know if rookie, he's Korn Ferry member. He got into this one as well, but he's made the cut in both PGA Tour events he played, and he makes a lot of birdies. So I'm kind of a wild card there, but I like that one. And then I went with Matthew Neesmith to round it out, who's kind of semi model favorite as far as irons go. But
what was his value?
72.
Yeah, that's a good value.
So I went pretty middle of the road. Matt Fitzpatrick allowed that because he's only 10, so I didn't get too crazy.
Well, that's what I thought about this field.
Yeah,
it's easy to do kind of a middle of the road value picks.
You're not top loading.
There's not right.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of decisions to make on that top end, which is fine.
Oh yeah,
which is fine
for sure.
Who is defending champion?
Sam Burns, which neither of us even talked about. He's going for the rare three-peat. He's back-to-back champion.
Yeah,
he's not on either of your teams.
I will do another team where I'll slip Sam in there.
We didn't even talk about it. Yeah, he's won here twice in a row.
Wow.
Yeah,
and he didn't make the team.
Yeah, when does this go final? Because can I change a player?
I think you could.
I think I might. That's a good point. Cookie. Yeah,
possible Sam Burns from Mark over there. So. Cookie, what do you have any favorites going on?
Sam Burns, I guess. I haven't looked at the field. I knew it was going to be down a little bit. I knew Tom wasn't playing in it, but I agree. I've always been a Spieth guy. I enjoy watching him. I always root for him. I get a kick out of him. And Sam Burns has been phenomenal. I didn't realize he'd won it back-to-back years.
Yeah. So. Yeah, this will be a great week to watch some golf. Again, we kind of got a small taste of what it's like for the Masters here. I think we're all getting the itch. So. Hope to see you guys all out here. Thanks again for Mark. I know you got the scoreboard pulled up real quick here. North Dakota State's down in Arizona, Grand Canyon University. They played really well the last two rounds. Yesterday was the first day of 36 holes. Where are they standing right now?
They are 4 back of TCU, number 29th ranked team in the nation. 29th ranked team in the nation, TCU, Texas Christian University. A couple local guys have played there. Tom Hoagie, David Schultz, Andy Doden. Great golf program down there, and SU's only 4 back through 9 holes.
So a lot of golf left to be played. So this is going to come out after the fact. We're rooting for them. Hope they pull out the best there. But that's going to do it for us here today, Sweet Shots. So Matt, thanks so much for coming in.
Yes.
And talking with us a little bit. This has been awesome, and we'll have to have you back on again.
Thanks for inviting me. This is a fantastic opportunity. I enjoy listening to you guys. You do a great job out here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
If anybody's listening, you haven't been out to Sweet Shots, you got to get out here. It's great food. The experience is awesome. You got so many different things going on here. I just can't believe it. Between putt view downstairs, you want to work on your short game, you want to hit balls indoors in simulator, or you want to take the real experience outdoors. It's just got everything. So I know we had a ton of fun last night, so I appreciate that. And thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Matt.
That's going to do it for us here this week. So good luck out there, and we'll catch you next time.